That's
My man. This song has a whole new meaning now.
it's really intense.
After we talked to him. This is the guy we interviewed last week. The guy that did this for us.
Oh.
Yeah. He's amazing.
Alrighty. Here we are. Welcome back, everybody. We are so happy to be in your ears again. Welcome. This is Leave Looking Up, where we bring you uplifting conversations about the state of the world. My name is Amer Jandali, and I am here with my main man, my co-host, Neal Ludevig.
Please never say my last name like that again. Oh, that hurt. Hello.
Wow.
Hello, world. We're going to pretend that never happened. Never happened. Hello, world. Hello, listeners. Hello, friends. Hello, Amer. Hello, Nate and Hilla.
Hello.
What's up,
Nate
what's
and
up?
Hilla.
Hello, friends. How you doing?
Good.
We're doing great. Nautical.
Yeah.
Absolutely nautical.
Nautical theme.
Definitely.
We are here at Pirate Studios in Gowanus in
Yeah.
Brooklyn.
Yeah.
This is a little in-person group hang that we got here.
Yeah.
And this is not our first group hang,
No. And we always wear headphones, just even if we're not recording.
even when we're not recording. Do you all usually, do you ever get into the studio to record your work?
Like
You do a lot of stuff with your cell phones and that, but like how often are you guys in the studio to record your work?
Well, we have some home studios.
Yeah, we record. Yeah, the line between home and studio is pretty blurry for
Yeah.
both of us. I think.
Definitely.
We
Roll
record
out of
in
bed.
rooms.
You're in the studio.
The space is intentional,
Pretty
but
much.
yeah. But we don't usually go into studios to record.
No.
I don't want to do that. You'd have less control. You know what I mean? Like we like to record ourselves. So. Yeah.
True. I like to record myself.
Well, this is a conversation. We're setting ourselves up here because our guests record themselves often. And they record themselves, they record each other, and signal boost positive messages about the Earth in various wonderful dynamic ways. We first came into contact years ago when Neal and I were co-producing an event called the Marketplace of the Future during Climate Week. And I had just learned about you guys because of your plastic man.
Yeah.
Because of your plastic video. And I lost my mind because I'm working on a project to reduce plastic. He told me that he knows you guys, and I lost my mind again. I want to start there, and then maybe we can talk about how you even got on this track from childhood. But tell us, let's start with the Plastic Man.
Yeah, so I Am
Project.
Plastic Man was our first ecological song that we did together since we incorporated and became a band, a duo. And we had Akil Apollo Davis. He was our featured artist on the track. And we kind of the three of us were sitting around like thinking like, what is a song that we could all collaborate on? And plastic was one of the first things that we thought would be a cool topic to tackle because people need to know about plastic and its impact on our planet.
Yeah, that really was where it broke in. Because you had been sort of interested in and beginning to practice zero waste, I think, around that time. And
Yeah.
we'd known each other for a little bit, but we were still like early on in our...
Like our
in
first year of knowing each other.
Yeah, exactly. Early on in our collaboration. And we'd also just met Akil not too long before that. And yeah, got together and was like, what do you want to make a song about? And the interests just aligned.
Yeah.
And then we arrived at the idea that... I think it's because he wanted to have a pitch down vocal that he became the Plastic Man.
He
I
was
remember
the
there was like
Plastic Man.
yeah, he
I am
personifies
plastic
plastic like the floating aggregate of
He
plastic
really
in the
does.
ocean. Like
Yeah.
that's who he is.
Yeah.
Which is ironic because he's a very sweet, gentle, soulful person, but he's playing the villain in that particular piece.
Yeah.
But the theme of the piece is that we can't think of plastic as a villain. Ultimately, we have to sort of
Yeah.
think of it as something that wants to be someplace else, or maybe doesn't want to be created in the first place. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
Frankenstein, a tragic figure.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a reframe.
What a reframe right there. Yeah.
It's such a powerful substance.
You should have a reframe button for your like reframe.
Just walking around everywhere in the middle of a conversation or like ordering lunch. Like, nope, reframe.
Yeah.
Oh, that burger just turned into a salad. What?
Reframe. Yeah.
Right on. Okay. Cool. So that was would you say that was like one of the first? I mean, bring us into the origin of like how do we use our creative energies?
Well, I was gonna say let's start even way back. Like,
Yeah,
let's give
yeah.
a little bit of a context for listeners, like who you are,
Yeah.
and how did you get to Gowanus. No,
All right,
but
so
yeah,
about,
start like what's the picture? Like I know
origin.
we know Nate and Hilla, you know, the adults, the humans, individuals, band, collective, passionate, smart folks. But how did you guys get individually here?
Well, 4.5 billion years ago,
Nice.
a bunch of matter came together in a mass and became our planet. Fast forward to 1987,
Sick.
August
Are
11th.
you going to tell the story of my birth?
Well, it came before
She
mine.
was there. Surprise.
Surprise! I was just like a spirit floating around here.
That's interesting to consider.
It could be. Well, okay, guys. For me, I was born here in New York City, and I grew up in Soho, which is in Lower Manhattan. And I like to tell people often that there was not a tree on my block, not a single tree, and not a lot of green spaces around either. My parents weren't really like nature people. They didn't take me out to the Catskills or even to Central Park or anywhere. We didn't have houseplants. So like for me growing up, it was just, being in the city and just trying to survive the concrete jungle out here. But how I got here and rapping about the earth as the earth, yeah, I mean, it's been a process. A lot of people ask me, like, what was the moment that changed you? And I think there was just a lot of different moments throughout my life that gave me a little taste of what nature is and what trees are and what it means to be outside and dwell with the earth. So, yeah, it's just like been a growing process, slow growing process.
Yeah. Yeah, it is definitely a process. My origin is sort of the opposite of that in a way. I come from Washington State, from a little town north of Seattle, and it's just like surrounded in trees. Like I grew up like playing around in the woods and had a very green origin. Like it looked like Twin Peaks, you know what I mean? Like it really did. Not quite as murder laden, but still very mysterious. And
Sounds like a great place.
yeah. Twin Peaks
wonderful.
minus the murder, just all of the fun, wholesome. And so, and I came to New York probably like almost a decade ago, and met Hilla like 6 years ago or something like that. And I guess over the course of that past half decade, knowing Hilla and the work that we were doing together, and sort of the ideological journey that we went on together, really brought me back to valuing ecological. It brought me to a state of ecological consciousness that I don't think I was in before. I had a nostalgia for green and for growth and for life of that kind that I missed when I was in the city, but it wasn't the center of my sort of quest, and now it's really become the center. So yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And so that was, you guys met, you said 6 years ago?
Yeah.
6 years ago, and that sort of opened up, you said, really made that more of the center of your quest. Bring us into to today. Where is your mental space now? Because you guys have done a lot about sustainability, but I know there's also philosophy and education and other things. So talk about like where individually you guys are.
Got it. Yeah, we are. I mean, we've been collaborating for the past half decade or so as Nate and Hilla, and right now we're focused very in a very centered way, each of us on our sort of solo journeys, which we were doing already before we met one another. So it's all sort of weaving back to the same emphasis that we had, and I think we'll continue to collaborate in the future. But right now we're on our sort of solo missions. And I'll let Hilla talk about what hers involves. But mine has kind of gravitated to what I was doing in the first place, which is more operating in a more abstract sphere of exploring philosophical topics. So there's still an ecological application to that. But what I'm really interested in, if I had to list the things, is getting people excited about philosophy in general, getting people excited about redefining education as an elective and extra institutional practice. I mean, the origins of philosophical thought in the Western tradition. And this is true of other traditions as well. It's true of indigenous traditions in the Americas. It's true of Eastern traditions. But let's limit it to what we call Western Civ. Its origin was artistic. The poet and the philosopher were originally the same among the earliest philosophers. And so I'm really interested in bringing back that sort of model of, the bard who transmits cultural knowledge, historical knowledge, and philosophical knowledge and speculative thought about what is the nature of things through song. Because then when you activate people that way, it makes it so there's a pipeline from that act of thought and that act of art into doing something about it. It's inspiring the whole circuit, you know what I mean? And I think there was a lot of that in the stuff that we were collaborating on as well. And now I've sort of really zeroed in on that for my current, current work.
Was that? Did you?
I like this hand motion we just.
Were those? Yeah. I'm
Those
just
of you
like,
who are just listening will never appreciate
That's the
how,
beauty
how
of it.
in sync we were with this.
You gotta subscribe to that stuff.
Yeah, you guys subscribe to that. Well, I'm hearing this through line, and my hand was kind of gesturing at what my words were about to ask. Was that a through line you've been sensing this whole time, like connecting?
Yeah, I've long been fascinated with that because I'm also an academic, or at least by training, and I was a classicist, an classicist, so I studied ancient Greco-Roman culture, and specifically Greek philosophy was my main area of interest, and so I've just always been interested in this, like the oral tradition, the function of poetry as the main way of transmitting cultural information. That's the original source, and now it's bifurcated. We've got the arts over here, we've got activism in its own little corner, and sometimes it uses art. And then we've got the educational sphere, the academic sphere, just all by its lonesome, and they're not connected. They're supposed to be a circuit, or really they're supposed to be all just one breath. When I say supposed to, I mean originally were, and I think that's a unity I'm interested in reintegrating.
That's beautiful.
But Hilla.
Oh.
Oh, me.
Oh, me? Planet Earth over here. Yeah, so I've been rapping as Planet Earth, about Planet Earth. And what I've been kind of focusing on is just getting the educational part of earth science, how food grows, different applications for solutions, permaculture, how to build soil, compost, how to purify water, just kind of thinking about all the different ways to green our world and to create abundance for people and, rethink our life. Like, I grew up in the city and I'm like constantly imagining how to green the city. What would the city have looked like if we didn't cover it in concrete, and how do we sort of imagine restoring that? So that's really the focus of my work now, and it's all through just like really fun songs and verses. I have a whole series of mushroom raps about different kinds of mushrooms. I have
They're
a
great.
series,
I love them.
They really are. Yes.
Definitely have sent those to a few folks.
ABCs of mushrooms, and then I have the veggie raps, which are all like 1-minute raps about different vegetables. So yeah, that's really been the focus. I just really want everybody to have fun learning about and loving the earth.
Mm-hmm.
For each of you guys, well, I have two questions I'm thinking of. The first is, you go by Hilla the Killa, and you go by Nathanology.
Yeah, right now that's sort of what I've been rocking.
Was there
That's
a genesis to those names?
Yeah. Well, Hilla the Killa was birthed in summer camp.
Yeah.
All great names.
All
are
great
birthed.
Yeah. Yeah, Jonathan Gabison out of nowhere was just like, Hilla the Killa, the thriller in Manila. And I was like, okay, I guess that's me now. And it really did stick. And then I kind of wrote my first rap song in college and was like, I'm Hilla the Killa. And that was my persona. So it's been that way for a long time.
Hell yeah.
Nathanology, yeah, that's the name of my YouTube channel, and then it became sort of my handle and stuff like that. It's not officially my artist name yet, although I guess I'm considering making it be that. I've been really bristling at this whole problem for a while because I've been struggling to land on like how I want to present myself, specifically as an artist, precisely because I'm realizing that I'm tired of like the self-branding gesture that our culture is obsessed with. We're all obsessed with sort of creating like, what is the official mask of self that I am presenting to the world, and becomes this secondary identity that we put all this stock in. It's like a self-commodification. The very notion of making a brand, I mean, think about where that word comes from.
Yeah, branding it. Yeah, exactly.
On a cow
right,
or
sure.
on a human being, you know what I mean? A symbol, and then we're doing that to ourselves. This is a complicated answer to your question. But yeah, Nathanology is what I go by oftentimes. It's not a bad name. I mean, logy is like the study of the logos. It's like the studies of Nathan, both in the sense of the studies of myself that I present to the world and my studies of the world that I present, you know what I mean, personally. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, you're making me think. I love that answer. That was perfect you answer.
Super on brand.
Oh, wow.
Very on brand.
Oh, boy.
But part of, I mean, I know folks when they have it really combined, the brand is synonymous with their name and there's no differentiation. People listening to them don't understand that difference.
True.
I mean, actually, I really like, there's a whole thing that Colbert was talking about when he left from the Colbert show and went to like late night. He talked about how there are distinct differences between the Colbert that was doing Colbert Report, the one that you're about to see, the one that was with Jon Stewart and all those different things. And a lot of people don't think that, they watch the show as it was, and they're like, oh, that's what he must normally be like. He must not know any of these things. And having that kind of separation of church and state is a strategic decision. But it's tough. It's a tough thing.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a
Yeah.
lot packed into it because it's like it makes sense that you would want to create that separation,
Right.
But then also,
sanity.
like, why would you want to go through the world saying or doing anything that you aren't willing to completely own as like this organism that is referred to by a certain denomination, am willing to say these things,
This
Yeah.
is a friend of mine got to actually interview Brad Pitt. He works for the Hollywood Reporter.
That's the next episode.
That's the next episode. Whew, yeah.
He's actually coming in by the street.
Check out our follow-up episode.
Surprise!
Nate
Surprise
and Hilla
guest!
and Brad Pitt.
But he got to interview him, and he talked about he got to ask a question just about what does he think about the fact that he has no privacy, that he's completely lost that right, and like his life is like a microscope constantly being looked at. And he said it's a deal that you make with the devil, that when you want these kinds of opportunities and when you kind of create this brand around yourself to do these things and have the choice, that's the sacrifice that you make. And some people realize that, some people don't. And I think the lucky people realize and at least have the opportunity to ask themselves that question: am I ready for this? Do I want to do this as I'm stepping into that?
Good point. Yeah.
But I think it's certainly a very philosophical thing to think about. But the other question that I had is something that we often like to ask is, was these central motivating topics for each of you, was there a heartbreak in your history? And what is the phrase that you always say? Heartbreak leads to...
Breakthrough.
Exactly. And so was there a heartbreak for each of you that kind of spurned this journey, this messaging, this ideals that had your paths cross and also diverge and shift and change?
I guess maybe. I was on the way here, I was thinking about one of the heartbreaks that I felt when I learned that New York City, the island of Manhattan, used to be covered in trees, and there was a pond that started in the East River and went down to Wall Street called Collect Pond, a freshwater pond, and that Manhattan is actually, comes from Mannahatta, which means many hills. With the Lenape people who lived on this island, I just never learned that in school growing up. I kind of learned this back in adulthood, and so to just imagine my island that I grew up on actually being an island and not just something covered in concrete and skyscrapers, and I don't know, it just felt like this loss that I never could ever even imagine what it was like before. But yeah, I think that kind of counts as a heartbreak, even though it has nothing to do with me. And I was just kind of born into this world. But yeah, I was just like, wow, there was a pond somewhere.
But that was something you realized on the way here?
Just was thinking about the heartbreak question. I was like, how has my heart been broken over and over again with thinking about ecology and thinking about the planet and how deprived I was as a child with, learning about these things and just not knowing and never ever seeing any of the plants that my food came from, and not having a lot of experiences with being in the woods or being in nature, dealing with life in that way. So
was there a moment when all that kind of came together, I'm actually missing out on this stuff? It's like, hey, you're eating and having salads and this, and wait, where does this come from? Was there a general age or time or moment?
The first time that I ever sprouted seeds and watched them grow was, I think, when I was 27.
Whoa.
Wow, okay.
That's like a school project that a lot of times have. It's like, hey, grow your, but not until 27. Wow.
I mean, I do have a vague memory of putting some beans in a plastic bag in first grade or something like that.
Yeah.
But I don't think I cared. I don't think I really connected it to actual things. But as an adult, I was like, oh, I really want to see this happen. And I'm going to follow this, and I'm going to see. And I grew basil in my basement under a grow light. And then I did this whole compost project and got even more into life and death and the cycle of matter and how it gets recycled and decomposes and becomes soil again. And that really just changed everything for me. I mean, once I got into composting, it became less about how do I get people to bring their own cup to the coffee shop and more about how do I get all the organic matter that the coffee shop produces back into the earth. And that to me was not that those are, one is more important than the other. I mean, I think they're both important, but it was just oh, there's an ecology and a process and a system to the earth that we need to honor and understand. And plastic is a problem for sure, and it inhibits that process of going back to the earth because plastic obviously doesn't do that. But then we also need to compost, and composting is just it's so positive. It's a positive solution, whereas like avoiding plastic is kind of like a difficult challenge that you need to, figure out how you're going to do it in our society where, composting is just the natural way of things.
Well, so up until then, up until the sprouting moment, you were raising awareness about plastic way before that, and then where did that come from? Was that also something that was spawned from your childhood of just realizing, wow, there's a big disconnect here? It sounds like that experience walking around Soho was kind of the birth of things, or like what's that through line for you?
I guess it kind of was Burning Man because I went to film school in the city. I went to NYU. And I wasn't doing any like ecological.
Yeah, what were you thinking?
Then.
What
I was making back then?
Yeah, where was your head at? What were you thinking you wanted to create?
It was mostly like body positivity, sex positivity, comedy. I was really into comedy. I was doing a lot of comedy, stand up, making films about like gender equality and just kind of dissecting sexuality, I think, more than anything. And then I went to Burning Man, and I just really thought it was a really cool thing. That
you were like, "There's no plants here."
I was like, "There's no plants
here." This is in the
here.
desert.
Yeah. No, it was about trash. It was mostly about the trash thing, right? So the whole leave no trace concept, the fact that people started screaming "moop" every
really
time
good
something
about
fell off their clothes or whatever. There was no trash bins. People were decorating porta potties. I was shocked, right? Coming from New York City, which is so like full of trash and so normalized. We grew up in the city and we were taught to completely ignore the trash and just like we're so desensitized to it. So going to an environment that like kind of felt like New York in a way with like the community and the party and the people. But then to see how everyone was carrying around a cup and how everyone was aware of the trash and it totally changed my mind about stuff. So when I came back to New York and I had all the packaging, from the stuff that I bought for Burning Man kind of waiting for me in my apartment, I was like, oh, like there's no difference between Burning Man and New York City except for me being aware of the trash.
I love that. Yeah, I always like it feels like, we went in 2018 and for those listening, MOOP stands for matter out of place. And one of the principles of Burning Man is leave no trace. You see something on the floor, you have to pick it up. It's a really beautiful principle. When we got back from 2018, I was like, Neal, dude, it feels like we're still there, but we're just way farther away.
Yeah.
Right?
It's so interesting to see which people are actually taking a lot of those practices, not just in terms of sustainability, but like hugging versus shaking someone's hands. Like I'm absolutely a hugger and will forever be. And seeing which of those things kind of retain. I was also thinking, especially as you're talking about the porta potties. Yeah. My absolute favorite group is. What do they call it? They call the paparazzi.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
They stand up.
They basically, for those listening, they stand outside and wait for people to walk into a porta potty. And then when the person walks in, they quickly gather around that porta potty, put out a red carpet in front of it, and stand on the outside waiting with a whole bunch of cameras, like the paparazzi, waiting for that person to exit. And then when they do, like taking pictures, celebrating, clapping, like screaming and whistling while this person's realizing what just happened. It's fantastic. It's like that utter silliness, which is so great.
Yeah, I love
so
that.
So great. I'm so glad that was a genesis moment of
Absolutely.
your activism towards this space.
Yeah.
Super
It
high
really
contrast
was.
when you got back.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, dang, okay. Like, I see the dissonance now. That sounds like...
Yeah, I became aware of MOOP, and I loved the culture of bringing your own cup. I thought that was like... so stylish and fun. Yeah. And so I just kept doing that, and it was like very easy to do. So yeah, becoming aware of trash definitely set me on the path to learning more about nature and plants and everything.
Right.
And so what about your genesis?
Heartbreak.
Yeah, the heartbreak. Yeah, I guess this, I feel like the direction that Hilla's answer went in the direction of breakthrough, like what is the breakthrough conceptually? And thinking about it that way, there was a lot of things lining up when Hilla and I first met. I was also working on my dissertation at the time. I'm going to press the cough button.
Add those coughs. Everyone cough.
There we go. Return to clarity. So I was working on my dissertation. It's a dissertation on, it was a philosophy dissertation essentially, and it was beginning to be the first rumblings of my ecological thinking, and it happened to align with when getting to know Hilla, and she was on the zero waste tip, and then I was sort of siphoning off that practice. But my dissertation was on this guy, Alfred North Whitehead, who's a philosopher from the mid-20th century, and specifically his use of Plato. And he's a philosopher who went back to Plato specifically to recover this notion of what we now call panpsychism, the notion that everything is alive or imbued with some sort of sentience. What we call consciousness is just a highly specified and complex form of a subjectivity or a feeling that exists in all of matter. Therefore, the universe is a living organism. It's one living thing. And this is actually reflected in the word ecology in a sense. Ecos means house. Like it's one living house. It's one throbbing thing. And I was getting really interested for that reason in the effect that how we conceptualize things like environmentalism, matter itself, physics, the effect that has on our ability to participate in being an activist about it or being a polluter or whatever. Because the word, for instance, the word environment, I think, is not my favorite word. I don't like to say I'm an environmentalist or even say the word environment, too casually, because the vibe it gives is the environment is something that surrounds you. It's something that's, you're walking through it and it's separate from you. Similarly, the way we typically use nature, I think, is very flawed. Not that the word nature itself is bad, but it's flawed if we forget that we are nature. We are part of it. So it's a system of relations. This table, this microphone, all the buildings in New York City are just, there is no such thing as the artificial. There's the human-made. That's a very specific, coherent, categorical concept. But natural artificial is not not a coherent binary. And when we slip into that binary, it makes it very hard to take care of things. And, we're talking about MOOP. It's one of my favorite phrases, even though I've never been to Burning Man, but I'm happy to have received it from afar because it's a beautiful phrase. It's a very hopeful phrase. If there's such a thing as MOOP, there must be also such a thing as MEEP, matter in its place. And so then it's not a matter of denigrating or hating or vituperating any kind of matter, even the plastic water bottle. It wants to be somewhere, and it's not, scuttling across the playa, you know what I mean? And it's not, like, on the streets of New York City about to blow into the ocean or, like, end up on the beaches of Staten Island. It's not where it wants to be, really. It has a different place that it wants to go. So it makes it so instead of having the sense of, like, ooh, icky matter over there, oh, beautiful forest over there that I don't want to tiptoe in and fuck up, you know what I mean? Right. Which is how is a very psychologically unhelpful thing for us as well. Yeah. It's very blame-oriented. We're already blaming ourselves or blaming some corporation. Not that the corporations didn't deserve that blame in a certain manner of speaking, but we know from human psychology that blaming oneself and blaming others is usually the first way to make it never get resolved. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, we have to go deeper than that. I shouldn't say unfortunately, but we do have to go deeper than that and start to think of matter, even ourselves, as constructed from material relations, and the outside world is constructed from material relations. And then if we begin to think of all of that stuff as literally having a subjectivity in it, there's a breathing livingness, even to quote unquote inorganic matter, it just makes the whole thing way more approachable, I think, to try and be involved in it. Because, first of all, you can't not be involved in it. And then it's a choice of how you want to be involved, rather than it being this choice of like, oh, I have a hobby, which is being an environmentalist. I'm caring about nature around me and making it so fewer humans mess it up. It's not, I just don't think it's... So I think it matters a lot how we think of these things. And so that's why, and I think that a lot of that informed, how we constructed stuff that we made. Is like, how can we begin to not just bring awareness to a certain idea like, hey, don't litter. We've heard that before. We grew up with that in a way. But to go deeper than that and be like, how do we begin to develop ecological consciousness from its earliest roots in a human psyche? You know what I mean? So, like, let's make some songs and raps about that,
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm really glad we were recording that. I'm so glad we're recording that.
That's such a funny thing to say in a podcast.
I'm so glad we're recording that.
I'm so glad
It would be even better if it's like, oh my God, we weren't recording any of it.
I totally
Wait a minute.
agree.
Run it back.
Although I don't know where the plastic bottle wants to be besides not exist in the first place.
Well, I'm speaking a little... No, that's the thing. It's like, that's what I brought up earlier. Like, it's like, maybe it's like a Frankenstein object where its tragedy is that it's like, it doesn't have a home. It's doomed to outlive its makers.
Yeah.
I was thinking as you're saying, but by virtue of it existing, which is essentially what you were saying, that it has a place in the same way that you're right where you're supposed to be. Right. And I think that is a very cool way to start looking at things, that if it exists, it has a purpose, it has a reason, if not to illustrate that some things have a purpose and some things don't have a purpose, which is a purpose in itself.
Right.
It's a very cool way, because it's often a problem when you're starting to create basically those environments, those spaces that are without human interaction, kind of removing us, and I love it.
Every
I love
plastic bottle that's been abandoned needs like a little like sign on it, or like it needs to do an interview that says like, "Hi, I wish I didn't exist. Here's why you should stop making more of me, and here are alternatives to making more brothers and sisters to suffer as I have." You know.
That's it. I think you just kind of.
I mean, we always talk about how all the plastic that's ever been created is still here with us, and it's sad to think that they've just been abandoned and they can't decompose. They can't go back to the earth and
stuck.
become
So
the next
Wall-E.
thing. Yeah, it's like
So Wall-E.
they're just stuck, right, in this stuck state of being, something that doesn't break down. And I think like we need to take all that plastic and turn it into art so that it's like on our walls at the very least, and not in the soils, preventing plants from growing.
I want to. So just as a kind of rounding out, it's clear you guys do a lot in terms of spreading messages, positivity. You produce tons of content, video. You do all these different things, and I think we're going to get there. But I think as we're sort of starting and learning about your heartbreak, your origins, and I think humanizing you a little bit, I'm really curious because it seems like your brains are just always going, always running. Do you have vegetable moments? And I choose that term vegetable very
I was like, what do you mean,
specifically.
like cucumbers?
But like, yeah, I mean, what are the down, before you get into these moments when we're talking about all the doing, is there non-doing that's happening? And what is that, existence versus non-existence? Is there is there a space for that? What does that look like for you? How do you guys handle that?
I watch a lot of Law and Order.
Solving those
Yeah,
mysteries.
you mentioned on the way over that you'd gone from SVU to the original.
Yeah, I went to the
I was actually
original.
happy to hear that. It's like you're going back to the,
I watched all of SVU, and now I'm going back to the origins.
I like the idea that eventually your interest will go so deep that you'll start like researching actual cases that episodes were based on, and then you just like get a law degree. Like yeah.
I always wanted to be a lawyer, actually, when I was a kid. So yeah, maybe.
Wow,
That's
You
cool.
wanted to be a lawyer when that was your dream profession?
There's still time,
Yeah,
A
there's
lawyer or a chef.
but still dress up as the Earth.
Can I just ask
Be
what
an
did
environmental lawyer. It's-
Yes. Well, that's how I'm gonna run for
you,
president.
the chef
so.
lawyer? I only take culinary
Damn.
class.
Hell yeah, you heard it here.
What did you want to be when you were younger? Just out of curiosity.
I did have a president phase. I declared that I was going to be the president, and I was going to make.
very
my
presidential to
dad
declare.
was and is very staunch Republican, and so I think probably influenced by his thinking, my main platform position was that I was going to reduce taxes to a penny every Sunday, which he thought was awesome. I've since changed in terms of my aspirations and my political orientation. So not that I'm like a Democrat per se. This is not your question. What was the question again?
What do you want to
Oh,
be?
what I wanted to be when I grow up.
Well, it started with what are your
I
vegetable
wanted
moments?
I
and what
wanted
do
to
you do?
be
Oh, the
both of the
vegetable
things that
moments,
I've
right.
become, I think, which is a good thing to remind myself of. I suppose I hadn't thought that in a while ago. But like, I wanted to teach. I remember always being enamored of my teachers and like really respecting them, and well, the ones that I loved anyway. The ones I resonated with, I was like, I want to do this. And then I also wanted to make stuff and like be on shows. Like all of my games when I was a kid, it was never just the game, it was the show. You know what I mean? Like it was an episode of a show, and I knew what the theme music was. There's like a video that I saw of myself where I'm like, I don't know what I'm saying because it's too far away, but I'm like standing on. I look like I'm Mickey Mouse, like presenting like the
Yes,
feature
yes.
presentation or some shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I want to do that and teach, which is I guess what I'm doing.
What's your vegetable moment?
Oh, sorry. Back to the vegetables. Why am I talking about Mickey Mouse?
Because you're a performer.
Oh yes.
We
Hi
have,
kids.
Hi, kids.
Going to the rest of the podcast like this. Can you imagine? Sorry. What are your vegetable moments? Now I'm committed.
What did he say?
I'm committed. I can't break
No,
down.
I'm kidding.
I saw a guy on TikTok doing a Mickey Mouse impression. It had thousands and thousands of like likes, and I was like, mine is better than this. And I was
Okay.
like, oh, maybe it's just
into
like
it.
Mick Talk.
What's your TikTok handle?
It's Mick Talk. No, it's Nathanology. Nathanology.
wait.
Nathanology.
Okay,
Yeah.
have we answered
Yeah.
the question yet?
Vegetables.
We're getting to the vegetables.
Yes, I do also sometimes, vegetate, and sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not good at all. And I have obsessive tendencies, and so when I begin to obsess over a certain thought, it grinds my whole process to a halt, and then I, just sort of lie in bed and like, be sad sometimes,
Yeah, just sitting with it. Okay.
Well, yeah, but not constructively, like hiding from the world, various forms of hiding, you know what I mean?
Anything that helps
Yeah.
you guys or helps you or kind of get out of that funk and that space?
How do you get through it?
Actual vegetables.
Always.
Wow, that's
I
cool.
love vegetables. Yeah, I like to go outside. Going outside on a walk, or on a run, going to the park, getting on some monkey bars, getting upside down usually helps me a lot.
And you like sharing that.
Yes.
You love sharing that.
Yeah, because when people ask me, they're like, Hilla, what is your advice for people who want to be more environmentally friendly or want to get into eco stuff? I'll just be like, my number one advice is always just be outside, enjoy the outdoors, like dwell with trees, you know, because I think that's the most important thing, to like really have love and joy for the thing that you're trying to enhance or protect or, you know, learn about. It's like, just be outside, I think is the number one thing. So I do share that a lot because I want sometimes people will be like, oh my God, I saw your story and now I went outside.
I'm out here.
You
truly.
inspired me to go outside
Oh,
today.
yeah, if
Right.
they bump into you while
Right.
being outside, that would be the best.
Yeah, people bump into me outside all the time.
Yeah. Nate, how do you get through?
I guess when I'm hiding constructively, I read, and reading is good because it's a path that leads back to the other. You know, I mean, somebody wrote it; it made its way to you, and I too, as somebody who likes to write things and make things, it's like that's my path back. And if I get intellectually stimulated, it reminds me that like there's work to do here. You know what I mean? There's more service to be done in the expressive quarter, and so yeah. And it's good because, you know, I've been really, this has been a theme for me lately, like manage your, curate your outs from what you're supposed to be doing, curate your procrastination forms wisely. If you make it so you have a habit of like, I'm feeling shitty right now, I'm going to read my book. Like, that's pretty good, actually. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, especially
that.
depending on what the book
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Nice.
And it like,
I
treat
hear
it
you.
as an escape. Be like, you know.
And choose it,
Yeah,
right?
but
Like,
Yeah.
But then if you curated those wisely, then it's if you're invested in like you know, books or something
Productive
that
procrastination.
something that is ultimately soul fulfilling, even if it's like just a novel or something. If that novel you feel like you know in your guts of like this one's got a good soul, it's got some wisdom in it. That's a good place to hide. Much better place to hide than like I'm going to run away into like a show that I know is entertaining but not not uplifting. You know, in proportion to its engrossment. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like this we've shifted here into this headspace of tactics, if you will, like which is our other promise and other umbrella, which is orientation. So it's you know, we demystify your backgrounds, your origin story, and now you're orienting us so to stay hydrated and the tactics around that, you know, intentional procrastination. What did you say? No, productive.
I said productive procrastination.
I like that.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good.
And so yeah, what other? I mean, orient us a little bit. In terms of continuing on breaking through, staying focused. What are you looking up to? Things that inspire you. What else do you share with people to almost help them move forward?
Yeah, I think having a gratitude practice and also acting in service, like Nate was saying, like just to identify where I can be helpful to somebody else, especially when I'm feeling like not great, I think is a really helpful way to get out of, you know, to feel purposed and to feel like, oh, like I can actually just help somebody or pick up the phone and call someone or whatever. But I think being active physically is really important for me. And drinking water and meditating.
What kind of meditation?
Transcendental.
Yeah.
Sheila is going to be very happy about that.
One of our other guests, I'm a fan of transcendental.
Yeah.
Justin actually introduced me to transcendental
Yes.
meditation. So,
I mean, it's just like, anything can be a meditation, really. You know, it's just about clearing your mind and letting yourself be and, like, you know, trusting the universe that you're safe and that, you know, you can just, nothing really, it's all in your mind, right?
No
like
expectations.
A lot of stuff, yeah. Like a lot, I just think I'm like, if I'm like struggling, I'm like, okay, well, I'm safe right now. I'm okay. So I can just be okay.
Huh.
But it is hard when you're in a mental loop of feeling panicked or anxious. Like I have a lot of anxiety sometimes, and just getting to that place of being like, oh, I should meditate or I should relax or I'm okay is really difficult sometimes. So that advice is always like, yeah, if you can bring yourself to that mental state to relax, then cool. But obviously that's the challenge in the first place.
there's a one of my favorite books. I had to read it during college. It's called Pieces Every Step. It's Thich Nhat Hanh. I can never pronounce it. But the intro is by the Dalai Lama, and he talks about this, like ways that you can almost trick yourself into feeling better and kind of reminding yourself. And he tells you to take any ordinary object that you have. It could be a napkin, it could be a leaf, it could be a piece of paper, whatever it might be, and think of your happiest memory. Something that would you would positively glow, unconditionally. Just just thinking about it and attach that memory to that object, to that piece of paper or that napkin, so that whenever you look at that piece of paper, that's how you think, that's how you feel, and hang that so it's the first thing you see in the morning.
Cool.
So you wake up and it's like right in front of your bed, and that's how you can start your day. Whatever dream, whatever space you're in, you could look at that and you can know that's the feeling that I want to have to start. And it's really cool.
Wow.
Because I think it's
interesting.
these little things that help guide you, especially for those that sometimes like you can sometimes be so entrenched in it that you kind of forget how to get there. You need a little trail of breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful idea.
I love
it.
A
I
magical
was like,
jewel that
Mr.
like
Lama,
contains
you've
the
got-
light
you're
of
onto
like,
something,
what you
Mr.
care about.
Oh, and affirmations. I think
there
are
you go,
really,
yeah.
really helpful. Like, just to, because you don't have to really believe them when you're writing them. You can just do them. And then over time, it's like you're training your brain to access those kinds of thoughts faster. So when you're feeling down or doubtful or insecure, it's like, oh, wait, no, I actually know what to think about myself because I have all these affirmations. Like, I'm okay, I'm doing well, I'm this, I'm that. Like, so even if it feels fake in the beginning, it's like if you do that over and over and over again every day, you're just training your brain to have those thoughts.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
about yours?
No, that's good. That's a good segue too. Yeah, Hilla got me doing an affirmation journal a while ago, and I've continued to do it. And it's kind of evolved. It evolved in a fruitful way. One, it became a part of my sort of ritual and meditation practice, or like when I would do my like some ritual readings and some meditating, and then I would write in this journal. And it began like as something very personal. It remains something very personal, but it has morphed. Specifically in reference to, again, like sort of drawing on stuff from the ancient world. In the Hellenistic period, there was these things called humanize. They're like notebooks essentially. It was very common. It was like early notebook practice because literacy was still sort of in its infancy. So, but some people were literate and they were trained to write. But they weren't trained to make a distinction between like the rhetorical difference of writing for others versus writing for themselves. So they wrote to themselves, but with the precision as though they were writing to somebody else, which makes it so you're really calling yourself to write for the whole world. And we actually, like the most famous record of these is Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, which is this beloved book that people still read, this Roman emperor who was also a Stoic. He didn't call them meditations, though he just called it to himself. They're literally notes to himself. So we have the records of this person who is writing in these beautiful, complete thoughts, but they were for him, but he was writing as though it was legible by the entire world, you know what I mean? And I think that's something I've tried to bring now into my affirmation writing and my journaling, where it's like, it makes it so it collapses the illusory difference between the private and the public. Like there you are alone, but you, in addressing even thyself, thou addressest all, you know what I mean? Like you really are, and then you center yourself in this sense of communion where it's like, it matters that I get my ass up right now and into the community of being right now, even if that's in the solitude of my room or it's wherever I am in this cafe or whatever, like rejoin the community. And then it's like you feel all your cells be like, all right, yeah, let's do this, you know? And like,
That's so interesting because my affirmation practice started as an Instagram story practice.
which is that's a connected point to this that I've thought about a lot.
Yeah,
Is
I
like,
would just,
in what ways social media, for all its foibles and all its egoism, nonetheless does open a space in which we can actually be public about our notes to self
Right.
in a way that's actually very anciently precedented and very beneficial, and it really strikes to the heart of what it is to address yourself, you know?
yeah.
I mean, this is the duality that it can be incredibly You look
Yep.
at the virtual reality and Oculus Rifts and all these different tools. You can use them in a way where you can explore the world and meet people across the globe and do all that stuff. Or you can get lost in another universe and not, sit on your couch all day, right, and not learn anything. It's really defined by the user, which is kind of amazing.
As you guys are telling us this background on these experiences, are there particular experiences that you're seeing in your head as you're sharing? You alluded like at the cafe or whatever. As you're saying this, do you remember a particular moment? Like, what are you seeing in your head as you're telling us this? I wonder if you could bring us into a moment where you're like, yeah, I had this feeling and I put it
Yeah.
out there. I wrote
Well,
this down.
It would happen. Oh, okay.
Not that feeling.
My chair just. happened on the
Again,
So
that's
short, it was
subscriber-only
really funny.
content. You're only going to be able to see Hilla fall.
You'll put in the little like whistle sound.
Yeah, my chair just descended for no reason. Yeah, I guess I would wake up and like these stories were just like really visual in the sense that I would like take a picture of me like looking up, and then on the screen I would type like, you are gonna have a great day. You are changing the world. You are healing yourself and others. You know, like whatever I wanted to believe about myself or believe about other, people, like it would always be as a you perspective, and then I would just like post it. And that was it. And that's kind of how I would start my like day or my social media day or whatever. But I would do this every day. So there's like hundreds of these now.
Wow. And what I like hearing, I think, which is also kind of with this mindset of orientation, what are your average day? Like, can you walk us through each of your days, like from start to finish? Not everything, but like the average day in terms of, here's what I do when I get up. Here's like what my work times. We've had different people say different things, so I'm curious.
Ours is gonna be so different from
Well,
each
and
other.
if
This is what I'm so curious.
And if if you have an answer to a response to that
Oh,
too.
yes.
Oh yeah, and the question about sort of a specific image.
Yeah.
The first thing that came to my mind was, and this is related to the next question, actually. I've been going to this cafe Nook a lot, which is, I think there's more than one Nook, but my Nook is on Irving and Jefferson, or Irving between Jefferson and Troutman. Irving and Troutman, really. Anyway, in Bushwick. Check out Nook. I was in Nook one day, and I was about to do like my little ritual readings, and my little meditation and my affirmations. I was like, and I hadn't been going to Nook long at that time. I was like, is this too public for the Nook? I was a little concerned. And then I'll be darned, I turn around the corner and I see somebody who's literally sitting there in the cafe just meditating away. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this here. You know what I mean? And it was it was a beautiful moment. It's like,
so
we come
cool.
together here at this coffee shop and we be alone together in a very beautiful, productive way.
I
Nice.
love the
I love that.
the what's the word I'm thinking of? Like the oppositeness of being alone together.
Yeah.
That's a very
It's a
wonderful-
phrase, actually, that the
I
name
feel
of
like
the
that a lot
thinker-
with you, by the way, Neil.
Interesting.
I do.
Is
I
that
do
a
a lot.
compliment?
It
that
is a
good?
compliment. No, I intend that as a compliment, truly, because I feel like I'm just very much my authentic self, and I
feel
just
that
happen
too.
to have company with me. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I truly do. It's
Yeah.
cool, man.
I love that.
Yeah.
What? So like day in the life?
Yeah.
I don't think that there's.
Not the Beatles song, but
I don't. I don't think that there's a single day in my life that is the same as any other day. I have a really hard time with routines and just doing anything over and over again. I mean, the affirmation practice was one of the few things that I would do every single day for a while, but I actually have stopped since, so I haven't been doing it every day.
Let's do it right now, real quick.
I should, right? Yeah, well, let's do it. But yeah, I don't know. Like, it just depends. Is there a show that day? Am I performing? Did I go for a run? Am I, going to the monkey bars? Am I getting a coffee? Am I meeting friends? Am I writing a song? Am I like super busy editing video? Like every single day could include so many different things, and every day is different, pretty much for me.
so you could say that the consistency between all your days is that they're different.
They're all different. Like
They're
really,
all
really,
different.
really
Nice.
different. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Good save.
Do what I can.
I do drink a drink in the morning pretty much every day, I guess, and
What drink?
like coffee or tea or something.
okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
To like start it off, but
Any
yeah, I
kind
don't
of
know.
blend?
No, I just like just a coffee usually.
Voice just got squeaky high there. Okay. Well.
No, because even that's different. Like sometimes it's tea, sometimes it's coffee, sometimes it's mud water or whatever.
Yeah, or whatever.
Right. Okay.
Cacao, you know,
Cacao.
like.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. The blend.
What's the
Yeah.
routine over here?
Oh, this
the
is a
root-
routine.
Well, yes and no. I mean, also just really quickly, that phrase "alone together." I was trying to remember who it was. This philosopher named Sherry Turkle. She coined that. I think that's how White's in her head. Although she uses it in reference in a sort of a negative sense that technology makes it so we're alone together. Even when we're together, we're like in our own little worlds. But I think similar to what you're saying, it cuts both ways. There's like an opportunity there and a
Totally.
and a sacredness and a sort of pernicious element. But anyway, my routine. Right now, I'm living in a basement, which used to be our shared studio, but some shufflings of life circumstances have brought me to be living in that basement now. And living in a basement, it's very liberating for somebody who makes shoots video of themselves. I can do it at any hour of the day. I can record it any hour of the day or the night, which has exacerbated, for better and worse, like a tendency of myself to just the day is just, it's a series of hours, and I could be working in the middle of the night, I could be working in the middle of the day, I could be sleeping in the middle of the day, which has its glorious aspects and also aspects that are just deeply depressing sometimes. Because sometimes it's I wake up and it's 1:30 p.m., I don't remember how long I was sleeping. I just sort of feel dazed, and it's darkness always, and I have to scramble outside. So it's like I've been trying to manage that, But I do have routines and rituals that I, do in the midst of them.
Is this something that developed over time? And I guess this question is for both of you, or did you guys try a lot of different things and like finally settle on this? Like, and so part of where this is coming from is thinking, is this average day for you different from, for instance, what it was 6 years ago when you guys met and or before when you guys met?
My life has always been extremely chaotic without routine, but there were there were periods of time where I tried to get into a routine, and that was a really actually pretty healthy period of, and that's something that I'm striving for now, is to get back into like a morning routine and a night routine, because when I don't do that, things can get really just too chaotic, and then I don't have my grounding. So ideally, and in certain other times, I would like get up, not look at my phone, take care of myself, like brush my teeth, wash my face, all those things, and like meditate or journal, maybe go outside, go for a run, exercise, shower, and then start my day, and then do whatever I need to do. But I haven't really been doing that lately, and I think it's time to like get back into something like that where I take a little morning time and just do these very specific things that I know I need to do before anything else, ideally. But yeah,
Yeah, rituals are good.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, like I said, I have some obsessive tendencies, like to the degree of like definitely having an obsessive compulsive problem, like a diagnosed one. And so for me, rituals are interesting because they can be very helpful and they provide a lot of structure, but they can also become things that jump the rails of their own usefulness and become these phantom fetishized compulsions. And that's definitely happened to me with the very things that I was drawing nourishment from, like doing series of readings, series of prayers and stuff like that, like meditations that became verbalized, and then the verbalizations becoming some sort of compulsion. If, somebody listening doesn't know at all what OCD is, and that probably sounds really strange, but if somebody listening does, then they'll know exactly what I mean, because it's just these things that have a certain object, but then their object, leaves them, which is interesting, and it's something that Hill and I have talked about a lot because, especially when we were living together, like, Hilla, not to speak for you, but I feel like you've attested to always being on a quest to impose more structure and then losing it. And I'm always on a quest of the opposite, where I'm stuck in structures and I'm having to actively dismantle them, or like to like rebelliously say like, no, I will not do that little set of readings today. You know what I mean? Which is like a great victory for me. And for other people, it's like being able to do them, and it's related to other patterns. Like, some people struggle to be more thoughtful in their actions, and some people like me, they struggle to stop thinking so damn much, and so it's like we're oftentimes coming from opposite directions, as human beings, in terms of whether structure is something we need to assemble or demolish.
Yeah, and what I'm hearing is those are essentially the foundations that are kind of building to larger visions and things that you're doing. So I'm curious, and this actually came up in another interview. What is your vision now for yourself in the future? And how has that changed?
Wow. Well, yeah, I think definitely I envision a future where I have more routines and more organized structures in my life, because there's just a lot of content and ideas that I want to share, and a lot of songs I want to share, and I need to be able to manage my time properly to be able to get all those things done. So in like a future vision of my work, it's just more of everything that I've been doing in the last year and 2 years, making more songs, learning more, like really just being like a source of information about information and entertainment surrounding like earth science and earth activism, because that's, people really like the songs and they show them to their kids, and I want to make more stuff like that like people can watch with their kids and like get them excited about vegetables and growing a garden and things like that.
This is like, where do I see myself in the grand sense?
I think you can take this question however you like, but I think, giving you some context about where this question came from was one of our other guests, Brady Watt. We were talking about how the vision of kind of success and this larger picture of ourselves changes quite often. And for him, I mean, he was even saying that when he was in school, his like vision of success was being the regular bassist at the club in
local
Cambridge.
bar, yeah.
Yeah.
And now it's completely different. And that's a far cry away, especially that he's kind of achieved that and so much more.
Right.
Wow.
So it's kind of it was a good question that basically came right back to us of like, well, how has our visions changed? Like, what do we want to do? So even as you are, and this is even as you said that you've kind of changed and kind of morphed and had some interest grow, even from the time when you were creating content a lot more about sexuality and the same, different for you, but how is that molding, shifting, changing? What do you see kind of for yourself at this current moment?
Interesting. Yeah. I don't know if I think of it as something that's changing in my experience, but something that's coming into sharper relief, like almost like the image of a ship that I've long seen emerging from the mist in a vision or something, you know what I mean? Where it's like earlier I didn't even know that it was a ship, but now I can see the prow, you know what I mean? So I know it's a ship,
dude.
or whatever.
Hell yeah.
And it's like gradually becoming
very
more
Pirates of
clear,
the Caribbean.
Yeah, well, trying to keep it on the theme, you know what I mean?
Right.
Here at Pirate Studios. Shout out, Pirate.
Exactly.
We are. So, but I would say the vision as it stands now is one of just, exactly what we're doing right now, but expanded huge. Like, to have it be to the point where Hilla has succeeded and I've succeeded to such a degree that not only are we like household names from a perspective of like personal goals of notoriety and audience building, not only that, but we are just like, several among many who are now a commonplace of like people who fully teach, fully entertain, and the two are just one thing. And for somebody to be like, oh, I'm one of those, is a commonplace thing to say. And reciprocally, for somebody to say like, oh, where'd you learn about the fundamentals of process philosophy and how that affects ecological activism? They'd be like, oh, it was from the show, you know what I mean? It was from the Nathanology show, it was from the Nate and Hilla show, it was from, one of Hilla's songs or whatever. Like, that's where I got into it. And like, that would be as commonplace of a response as saying, oh, I took it in college. Because I think the institutions are going to continue to die. Every institution that we know of is being destroyed by the liberation of information, for better and worse, that's happening with social media and with internet and information technology in general. We have, labels dying musically. We have like all the old guard dying. And the same thing's going to happen to educational institutions, because kids on TikTok and everywhere right now, literally you can see it in the comments. They're like, I learned more from this than I did in all of my years of taking this or that class or whatever. And pretty soon we're going to figure out that like the people who cut class are advancing farther and faster. And so I want to get to a point where it's like we have not only gotten to the point where we have a large audience for our own sakes, for our own ideas and the sake of their transmission, but we have helped carve out a space along with others where it's like, this is how we do it now. And in doing that, we've like really returned to something.
This is how we do
it.
I was right there with you, Hilla. Thank you so
Just
much.
put it in when you're editing, you know what I mean?
It'll go in the post. It'll be in post. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's beautiful,
I agree.
man.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it really hasn't changed for me either. I remember really distinctly when I was a kid, after I decided I don't want to be a lawyer anymore and I want to be an artist, and I thought to myself, like, what are my goals as an artist? And the only thing I cared about was that I affected at least one person in a positive way and made someone's life better. And I feel like I've done that now. I've made a lot of people's lives better and affected people in a positive way. So I just want to keep doing that as much as I can.
A good friend of mine, he told me something which really kind of left an impact. He said the three things that he has to do every single day to know he's had a great day and feels kind of accomplished is do a nice thing for somebody else, support his family, and do the best that he can. That's his kind of like checklist. Is like, if I've done that, then that's a great day.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is he ever at like 11:58, like, oh shit, I haven't helped anybody? Rushes to the grocery store to help, bag something.
I'm sure. Actually, his other rule is he doesn't rush.
Oh, okay.
He said
Nice.
no matter what time the train is, he's like, so I'm sure it's some combination of that. So I'm also curious, like, what, and just talking a little bit more about like tools and things like, what are some of the tools that you find most useful, the places that you get information and inspiration? Are there people, we often ask, like, who are you looking up to at this current moment?
Totally. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm really interested and focused on things that are in my local environment and people that are doing things around me. So, I have a lot of inspiration that comes from like the Clean Bushwick Initiative and Nicole DeSantis, who's like runs that and hosts these cleanups in Bushwick all the time. Or like Anna Sachs, who's the trash walker. She also like really inspires me because she shows a lot of the waste that happens in New York and like what is being thrown out. Just people who are doing like environmental activism in New York. The composters like Dior Noel, who is the feature on Compost, our song. These people are huge inspirations to me because they are literally in the space here in New York City, greening the city. I'm like I feel like my mission is to uplift them and like create the soundtrack for their work. So just being involved in those things and seeing how they do what they do all the time, despite how difficult it is to be in New York City and actually care about the earth and care about soil and plants, so rare here, right? Or to fight against trash, which is so prevalent. I think that is really beautiful, and people who care about the earth, those are my inspirations always.
Totally, that's a good list. That was a beautiful like inventory of
Oh
like
my God, Nicole, Anna, and Dior.
Local, run that back and just write down all of those names of local like New York City based eco activists.
Yes.
I second all of that. I think I'm inspired by other people who are doing what we're doing a lot. I mean, like we have benefited a lot from collaborating by a guy named Baba Brinkman, who is also like a science rapper educator. He kind of has pioneered the synthesis that we're doing, and we, have gotten to know him and started working with him, and he continues to be an inspiration and a help. There's just people that I find like on, the internet, sometimes it plops into your lap like a beautiful gem of a person. Like, this is just on my mind because I don't know if you know her, but this Maria Parker, or she goes by Lingua Franca. She's a rapper and politician in Atlanta, and it's just like her songs are so dope. There's like the wordplay, the production, everything, and she's like literally just in the thick of it with like politics there, and her songs about like supporting workers unions and stuff, like very very tangible, but also just like extraordinarily listenable, and it's just like this is going on everywhere, like
that's so cool.
Oh my word, and it's like that excites me. So I'm interested in that. And then other than that, I think it's not limited to people who are like, I'm not saying the solution to everything is we need to always also rap. And that's not like, it's not the only way.
But it's a good point.
Why not?
I think if there's one takeaway that you can have.
Everyone is a rapper.
But, there's different ways of rapping is what I'm saying. And it's like, there's also, philosophers who are finding other ways to transmit knowledge through making it publicly accessible. You know what I mean? I think that's, and I'm using philosophers in the broad sense of like, don't just talk to your academic community, write the version of the book, make the vlog, make whatever it needs to be, like make the TikTok account that makes it so you also do the work of transmitting that to people, which is usually where you find out what you don't know about what you thought you knew. You know what I mean? Because academic ease actually obscures a lot of things to yourself that you think you understand, but you're just repeating certain language that's not really well defined. But when you have to bring it down to brass tacks, that's when it's like, wow. And I think there's a lot of people who are doing that with their, with what they're doing with their social media and stuff. And
Oh yeah. Speaking of like TikTok accounts, like Alexis Nicole, the Black Forager, she's one of my favorite accounts ever because she's so funny, and she's literally teaching people how to ID,
awesome.
all these different plants that you can eat and edible plants in your environment. I'm like, wow, this is amazing because it's just like taking your personality and really like using it for this dissemination of information that's important.
Do you know Yam Socks?
No.
Love the name.
Yam Socks he's also like one of us. He's like, I don't know where he's from even. We were messaging a little bit, but he's like a mathematician, logician, philosopher guy. Like way more, like I'm a philosopher, but I'm like a little more soft, loosey-goosey, like, mythic side of things. He's like hard, like philosophy of language, philosophy of logic type of stuff. Like stuff that for me like makes my brain hurt. And he like makes raps and songs about that. But then also occasionally he'll have like a meditation piece. Like here's just him meditating. I was like, this guy, Yam Socks. I'm also just very enamored of him right now.
Amazing.
Wow.
2 kind of follow-up questions that are connected to that. What about like the setups? I'm curious for the folks that are, hey, I want to start making rap videos. I want to start making music videos and kind of creating this content. Like, what is like the setups that you guys have? Because it seems like it's pretty well tuned.
It's really minimalist. We have a green screen, some lights, camera.
Action.
Action. I think we both edit on Final Cut Pro, and we both edit music on Logic. And it's really simple. It's just a microphone and a Focusrite and those programs.
Cool.
That's really it. Yeah.
The follow-up question I have, as I was just thinking and kind of looking a few things up, is when was the Earth, your Earth, created? And like, because I feel like there's like sewing kits and stuff involved in that.
My
And
gosh,
like, when was
yeah.
that? What was the original inspiration for that?
We did a show at Caveat called Eco Trippin', and we wrote a song if the Earth could rap, and it was like the Eco Trippin' anthem. And that's how we came up with it. And we were like, all right, well, someone's got to be the Earth. Probably me.
Yeah.
So
It just didn't seem like the white man's job in the group.
you've been the Earth, though. You have your Earth moment.
That's true. I've had some moments. Right.
So yeah, originally we were just like, I looked up online and I bought this kind of like inflatable PVC balloon, basically, that you can wear. It has arm holes, leg holes, and a head hole. And it's, I think, for a game where you just knock into each other wearing these things,
Yeah.
like a sumo.
Which,
I
wrestling
love
game.
we've
the
never
sumo
just
stuff.
put on the spare and played.
Nope, never did that. It's true. But yeah, so we originally had that, and it was blue. So I was like, oh, let's just paste clouds and continents on it. But that looked really bad, and we can send you a picture of that.
Please do.
But then,
I saw a
it looked
picture of that
really,
the
it
other
looked
day.
You
really
said
bad.
it
Yeah,
here.
no,
We've got a recording. Send me a picture. Thank you.
But then our friend Joy, she actually like sewed together the shell, which is the blue, like fabric thing that we put on top of it. And I cut out the continents and glued them on. And that's basically what the Earth is that you see now. It's just,
That's
just
how the
started
Earth was
has
made.
it has a shell. It has a cover.
Shout out to Joy, because
Yes.
she's amazing.
Yes,
Joyfully.
joyfully.
Yeah, love
I know
living art.
Joyful.
Love living art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Love Living Art, shout out, and also Sexy Sustainability, who's another friend who's
Oh,
made a lot of
yeah.
costumes
Yes,
for
she
us.
made our
Cool.
banana peel and apple core costumes for the compost video.
Oh, yeah.
And
Wow.
she does all
Sustainable, acquisition.
reused materials,
Yeah,
But
she
both
got
of
all the
them are
fabrics from a
just
thrift
wonderful
store
artists.
and
Cool.
like.
So
it was-
key component, friends that are awesome too.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Huge,
Awesome
huge component. Always.
Amazing. I think we're shifting towards like the last part of the show,
Oh.
which is like really, really about giving thanks.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love that.
We like asking, is there a person that you have not given thanks to that you think might be a good time today to give
Wow.
thanks to them?
Wow.
Oh my. I always really try to give thanks right away when I'm become aware.
I'm really good about giving thanks, so like there's nobody.
I mean, I guess I
friends,
haven't given you two thanks.
Yeah, I was just
Yeah.
gonna say, yeah.
Thank you for being in my life, you guys. For inviting us to the show.
You're welcome.
This is the part where we cry.
Yeah.
Can we hold hands?
Yeah, giving thanks. I mean, but it's specifically people who I maybe haven't given thanks to before.
Yeah, I think
Go ahead,
someone in
Evan.
your life that, I think you've never kind of thought. I mean, well, it's really up to you. I mean, they could have contributed in any specific way, but maybe they're significant to you at this current moment, where they, maybe you thought of them.
I was reflecting the other day on certain teachers I've had, which I think when this question has been asked of me, I think I've usually said like my mom, who matters a lot to me, or like certain people have been intellectually influential on me. And this, I guess, teachers fall into that category as well. But yeah, my teacher when I was at the end of my elementary school years, Zan Peterson Mullins, Mrs. PM, and Jamie Stockton, one of my sophomore English teachers, and Justin Fox Bailey, both of whom the latter were both awesome teachers, but they also did something very important that I've been reflecting on a lot, which is that they let me not do the work, because I did not do the work. I was doing other stuff. I was smoking pot, and I was running around having adventures, and I was making songs and poems. And they were like, okay, well, let me see the songs and poems. And they're like, okay, they passed me. You know what I mean? They're like, this
Hell
guy's
yeah.
doing something.
Sick.
And now I have a doctorate in top people and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And it's like that you can get anywhere you want to get, like if you care about stuff. And but that requires people along the way who are like, you actually care for real. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you're not going through any kind of emotions, and like that I've been very grateful for. And I was thinking about that, and I was like, oh, I should make sure I'm doing that in life. Like whenever I have power, it's like looking at like what is the person really about? Are they really about something? You
Yes.
know?
Yeah, no, I mean, thinking about teachers reminds me of one of my film school teachers, Nick Tanis. I did a film class with him where we were actually like shooting film, like 16 millimeter film, and cutting it on a Steenbeck, like actual like with scissors and tape, and like putting it back together. And I made one of like my first silly comedy videos in that class where I was like a man. I was like, it's like called Penis Envy, and I dress
It's a
up.
good movie.
Yeah, I dress up as a dude and have a mustache, and I talk about all. I wish I had a penis because then I'd have all these privileges. And then
We'll make sure to link that in the description.
oh, you should, yeah.
It's basically the tagline for the episode.
Yeah, no, there's a moment where I like ejaculate on someone's head. Whatever.
Wow.
Anyway, I like presented this in class, and I just, he was such a positive teacher and force, and he loved it so much, and he was really like, he really empowered me to like make films and kind of like be wacky and silly, and his class was so great. So like that's somebody that I definitely like think about sometimes in my personal growth and how I've gotten to where I am, that encouraged me and empowered me. So like anybody like that in my life, I mean, that's like what you were saying, like people who are like,
similar
I believe
themes,
in
yeah.
you.
That's cool.
Yeah, for sure.
It takes a lot of effort to exercise the perceptiveness. People have a capacity of perceptiveness that they don't usually exercise, and it's like to really look hard at someone and be like, okay, what are you really about? Because a lot of times, like kids, they're not necessarily showing it on their sleeve, like what they have in them, and or fellow human beings. It's like takes a lot of effort to like be like, what are you about? What do you have to offer? How can I help?
I heard something the other day that was actually really beautiful, just talking about like sometimes the people that are strongest, like that like you think that have everything together, those are people to check on, kind of check in. Like they might not have everything on their sleeves. They're, you kind of think everything's kind of good, but worth checking in, all that. And I think it's on the same line of thought.
It'd be a cool concept for a podcast is bringing in people that seem like they have it together and then being like, what's wrong?
But really,
what's wrong?
Just keep going. Just keep doing it.
Nothing's wrong. I have it together. I'm fine.
No, but really, what's wrong?
This podcast.
That's the whole thing. That's the whole thing. Yeah.
I wish I
No,
had a
you
penis.
did not. You did not just say get out.
Wow. That's the theme for season 2. Thanks.
Yep.
Welcome back to Intervention.
Damn, yeah, guys. Well, that was really beautiful, and I think I definitely appreciate the common themes in both of your responses. That's really nice. I actually teach social entrepreneurship
Oh, nice.
at John Jay College, and on this topic of heartbreaks leading to breakthroughs, getting to my goal for the course was, can I create a space that would allow students to feel and give permission to feel a certain way or a certain agency to talk about something that they really care about. So a lot of times the lecture will, someone will just raise their hand and like talk about a news article they read or a crisis in Yemen, etc., which is actually a very specific example. And then I'll put my hand up like, y'all, this is a little bit like not what we thought we were going to be talking about today, but are we okay to just like roll with this and we like, hold this space right now? And all the time the students are just like, thanks for just like letting me dig into something,
Nice.
So that's really cool. I appreciate that. Y'all have modeled a lot for us today.
Wow.
I appreciate that too. And what would you like to, as a last offering for our listeners or an invitation for our listeners, what would you like to invite them to do? Is there anything you're just like, all right, y'all, you finished listening to this episode, go for it, try this out, pick this up, listen to this, try that.
I've lost the duel of who's going to defer to whom. Yeah, I mean, besides inviting people to check out our work, they'll see all the things. Should I say them or
Say them.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah, please.
You can find my stuff at Nathanology _ on socials and things, and you can also find our collaborative work at Nate and Hilla. You can find Hilla at Hilla to Killa, but I'll let her reiterate that. But I would say on a more fundamental level, like among the themes that are emerging, is to invite people to be philosophical, not in an academic sense per se, but really take seriously the question of like, what do I think the nature of things is? What do I think the nature of matter is? What is this mystery that we're in? You're not going to arrive at a final answer, but then instead of trying to arrive at that finality, go, how does that premise of what I really think the world is made of, how does that lead to then what I do? And does that lead to some kind of activism? Does that, like, if I think that the world is like a collaborative enterprise of material constituent parts. Okay, how am I going to collaborate? And then like literally see what is the pipeline between those speculative gestures and the gestures you can make in the world. Like basically, make a philosophy for yourself, make your own ology, and then live it. And that does sound like a tall order, but it's so fundamental.
It also feels like the genesis of Nathanology.
There we go.
Love it.
Totally. Yeah, I think listening to our work is good. It's a good first step, yeah. And also, I like to say, like, anything that you love to do, anything that inspires you, that gets you up in the morning, that feels like is really coming from you, like, do it and do it for the earth. Like, do it for everybody. Do it for the whole planet. Because I think that that's, like, where everything is going. All the things are connected to us thriving on this planet, every single thing. So just getting into it, like really learning and studying and figuring out what the climate and ecology of your local area is, where you can compost, where is there a community garden, can you grow food on your roof, can you, capture rainwater in your house, can you stop, growing a lawn, but can you do this instead, maybe a fruit tree, maybe get involved in some community things, find out who around you is into that kind of stuff and like get together and talk about it. Like that to me is super cool and something that has really helped me stay grounded and engaged with like people and the mission. So that's my advice.
That is a substantial list for anyone. So if you didn't get an option from there, you need to look harder.
Yo, do y'all is there like any favorite raps that you have handy that you could like throw down right now?
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
This is just like totally emerged right now as I heard you.
We
I was thinking
do
about
that.
bars for chard. I was thinking
Yes,
about
bars
like
for chard. I think I
all
said
this
that.
kind of stuff. No, I mean like that as you were listing, I
Yeah.
remembered that, and I'm like, no, yeah. So like, is there anything that's coming up?
Do you two beatbox?
I
Wait,
do
you're a drummer.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, Neal does, yeah.
Do you really want me to
Holy
beatbox?
shit, yes,
I'll
we
scratch.
do.
You beatbox.
Do you want to go back and forth and forth? You wanna
Yeah,
do a
let's do it.
freestyle?
Let's do
Okay,
a
cool.
freestyle.
All right.
Yeah. Yo, we're at the podcast. I brought my cup. We're chilling, recording. Yo, leave looking up. Leave looking up. Look up at the sky. Ask why. Be a philosopher. Don't die.
Don't sigh, just be happy you're here. We be rocking out the podcast with Neal and Amer, and we're feeling no fear. We be bringing it full throttle. We be flowing like a bottle. Got an inhaler on the bottle.
Got Nate and Hilla on the bottle, full throttle all day. Yeah, we're trying to see a new way. Pave the way to sustainability. I'm feeling good in my home city.
Home city with the words and flows. They're like, yo, those philosopher rappers are so verbose and they're so ecologic, Nathanologic out of rocket. We'll be going off the top with the bars on topic.
On topic, and all the vegetables, vegetating and growing a garden very full of trees and plants and berries and shrubs. And sometimes I don't know what to say, so I shrug.
I shrug, but it's still good stuff. We're coming off the top, that's why we're looking up. About to leave looking up, coming out the door. It be Hilla the Killer and Nathan Dufour.
Hey.
Old.
That was fantastic.
Fucking sick.
Needed that.
God bless.
Needed that.
And you record, Justin. You got that. Start of it. We got a lot of it. And awesome.
Okay.
Nice,
Classic.
Classic. Ooh, don't look at that face. Well, that just made my day.
Seriously, for real.
And I
Oh
think,
my
thank
God.
you so much for that. I think that lends us
you want-
into, yeah, we have to.
We have to.
This is
Okay.
the last part of this segment that we always do.
Okay, so the intro is complete, and now the
intro is
podcast
complete.
begins.
We've got another 2 hours. I hope you're ready for that.
I would do it.
So, I was just like, I'm here for it.
I'm here for
I'm
it.
already blocking my schedule. This is the rapid fire.
Ooh.
So you guys have 3 to 5 seconds to answer immediately.
Amazing.
And at once. And we're
Are
just
we
going to
doing it
trade
one
off.
at a time,
Just
or-
one at a
okay.
time.
How long are these episodes? Like, this is like...
Well, just,
We actually make them. Like the flow's really nice. We
No,
got
no, I don't
awesome
doubt it.
editors.
Yeah.
I don't doubt it, but I wouldn't listen.
There's about 12 questions here, so
Okay.
it's not too. Yeah.
We'll,
cool.
we'll go back and forth, and
forth.
each of you guys answer.
Wait, but isn't the second person is always getting like an extra few seconds to answer it because they're hearing the other person?
Well, you guys can rotate as well.
Yeah,
Okay,
let's do it.
First
all
person,
right.
right? So I ask,
okay.
Hilla starts, then he
Okay,
asks,
cool.
you start.
Okay,
All right,
so...
swag.
Oh, cool. So we'll do
You
this.
got it.
next.
All right,
It's-
so the
it's
question.
diagonal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. All right,
Okay.
question number 1. Sunrise or sunset?
Sunrise.
Favorite color?
Blue.
Oh,
What's-
wait, are we answering the
I
other
thought
ones
you were
too?
gonna. Yeah, they answered
What?
both.
Oh,
You
we
got,
have to
you got
answer
sunrise,
both.
sunset.
all
too.
right, all right.
Yeah.
I like
Okay.
blue sunrises. Yes.
Okay, no, you say
Save.
sunrise,
Sunset.
Green.
Okay. All right.
Green,
swag,
green,
swag.
green. Okay.
Okay.
This is yours.
What's your favorite dessert?
Lemon stuff. Lemonade.
Rhubarb pie.
Best fashion advice you've ever gotten?
Wear clean clothes.
Look hot.
That's a good answer, actually.
What's the best compliment you've ever gotten?
You made my life better.
You make me feel listened to.
Yep. Favorite TV show?
Law and Order.
Oh,
Yeah, we got that.
This is like that counting game, and you just messed it up. Just,
favorite TV.
Sopranos.
Sopranos is good.
The Wire.
you telling him what his favorite?
I'll go with Twin Peaks. I'll do a
Oh,
callback.
Twin Peaks.
Cool.
Okay.
Cool.
If you could be any animal, what would you be?
Monkey.
Oh shoot! I mean, I'm an animal now. Me. Cat.
Mm-hmm. You are.
What's the weirdest thing you've ever eaten?
Paper. Toilet paper. Toilet paper dipped in juice. Like wadded up on a spoon.
You can say whatever you want.
No, some weed, probably.
Or like
And I haven't even eaten that, so I don't even know I was alive.
Like Super Troopers? Like the opening of Super Troopers?
Yeah. Oh my god, that was a fantastic scene. The schnozberries. It's like schnozberries.
Love that.
Describe yourself
Yeah.
in 3 words.
Happy, energized, and hydrated.
That's good.
thoughtful, kind, musical.
Okay. Tell us the nickname your parents used to call you when you were little.
Slim.
The speed of that answer.
Wow.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
Kokomosh.
How's that for humanizing our hero?
That's really adorable.
Kokomosh.
Yo, Slim, Kokomosh, yo.
Slim and Kokomosh.
Yo, we in this.
Okay.
You guys.
Good thing there's no other Slim rappers.
Slim Shady.
Nope.
Oh, got
the
it.
joke.
Okay.
Who's that? Who's that?
Eminem been real quiet since this job.
This podcast.
Oh my god. Tell us, if you could say one thing to God, what would you say?
Thanks.
That's the first thing that came to my mind too.
You interpreted it as like one word.
Yeah. I did
Thanks,
two
bro.
actually. I did two actually.
Yeah.
Come hang out.
Oh,
Well, that's really good.
that's nice.
Maybe he's already here.
Yeah. I'm not saying he's not.
Or she.
Maybe that would
Maybe
be their
she, or
response.
Maybe,
They-
maybe
they-
they already here. That
Yeah.
Next episode guest.
No. God. Backside or belly sleeper?
That's not where I thought this question
Me
was going to end
neither,
up.
yo. Definitely sides. Just the side, not the back side, the other side.
That's right.
One of the
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
The left
yeah,
side.
yeah. Also the side. Yeah. Like a fetal.
Yeah.
Feudal.
Vito. Okay.
Feudal.
Two more.
Do you have any tattoos?
No, I don't.
Yes, I have one little cactus, little saguaro.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay. And last one. What is a good spy code name for you? Slim.
Green heart.
Oh, that's so good.
Is that your favorite emoji?
What is it?
The green heart emoji.
heart.
I mean, I actually do have green heart somewhere, probably. Physical ones.
We should. That's a good rapid fire favorite emoji. I like that.
Oh.
Yeah. Totally.
Oh, I have an orange
Oh,
heart.
the spy.
Yeah. Spy question.
White shadow.
Cool.
Wow.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
What's your favorite emoji?
Favorite emoji? Oh, that's a great question. I think it's it's when his face, the little emoji face, is like,
That was cute.
Surprise face.
yeah,
Surprise
but like
face.
without just no eyebrows, no nothing, just like,
Yeah.
yeah. It's a
It's a good one because it doesn't say much really. It's very open ended.
can
You
be
know what I
many
mean? Somebody
things.
could share great news or bad news, and you could like do that. You could kind of
Kind
get
of.
away with it.
Yeah. I like the new one that they have that he's like so happy that he's crying.
Yeah.
The little, or like, you know what I mean? He's like,
That sounds
There's
beautiful.
some- oh, no, I like the one. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
happy, and then the one
with a
tear.
little tear, yeah.
Yeah, I like that one too. It's like, oh,
And
I like the
that's-
cute one. The one that's cute but smiling, because they had a cute but sad that was like, but then they have one now that's like it's
We
kids
might
also-
need to make a whole series of you impersonating emoji faces.
Yeah.
That's a good-
Yeah.
just to see how that's the next series on TikTok.
Yeah.
For sure. For
Oh,
sure.
I'm gonna do that.
Guys,
Yeah. I think we're in sync.
no, nothing else to say here. Thank you guys so much for
Thank you
joining
so
us.
much.
Thank you.
Incredible. I love that you were perfectly on time here today, and that we ended perfectly on time. It couldn't be a better time to
Our
say
pleasure.
thank you. And there's that music.
There it is, yes.
Thanks,
yes,
friends.
yes.
Ooh, take us away.
Sick baseline.
That's a good song.
He's a shit. Oh my! Oh my God!
Green heart.
Green hearts.